Hi, Melissa.
Hey there, how are you today?
I'm good, and welcome to everybody here with us for Two Women Healing Out Loud. Melissa and I are here today to just continue where we left off last time we were here. And Melissa
Mhm.
would like to start us off with a reading. Which one
Okay,
were you
so
pulled to today?
I'm gonna just flip through the book that we've been using, and I'm just gonna kind of, as you see, I'm just gonna randomly just
Sure.
go into something. Okay, so this one. Oh,
And what are you reading from?
okay, so the Course in Miracles experiment, it's a starter kit. It's based in the Course in Miracles. Some people have probably heard of that. It's a
Yeah,
blue book, and it has really thin pages. It's
one of my
some
besties is going through that exact book right now, and she loves it.
She loves it. Okay, I
Yes.
would recommend anybody reading through it. They also have a workbook that goes with it.
Yes, yes. I was trying to find them on my thriftbooks.com, but they're not there right now.
Not right now, but they will be.
Yes, they will. All
So
right. So what's our reading today?
okay, so it's page 243, I think, or 248. Let me put my readers on. Okay, 243. So, a glorious new world, the lessons in focus. Today is your day to sing wild songs of adventure, to soar your spirit and unfurl your joy. Wow. My daughter and I had an unspoken policy whenever we shopped. If we got separated, she always knew she could find me in the bargain section, riffling through sales racks. Well, it says, Lesson 226, my home awaits. I hasten there. I guess that's according to the Miracle, Course of Miracles 226. Says there's no value in returning to the sales rack. Why would I want to rinse and repeat the day before? Why hit the alarm clock with the same old finger? Trudge to the bathroom with the same old weary shuffle? Look at myself in the mirror with the same old worn out expectations? Today, I forgo the outdated sales rack. I give up my goals. I claim the imaginative free world that's queued up, waiting patiently for me to quit throwing darts at my life. As poet John O'Donohue once wrote, you never know what will land on the shoreline of tomorrow. It's short today, short and sweet.
That one didn't really resonate, or I'm not saying it didn't resonate, but my comprehension of it was a little not there. Do you feel
Mm-hmm.
like giving me a synopsis of it a little bit that maybe will sink in better for me
I
today?
could, or we could just throw it out for today and do it next time, or I could do another one because it didn't really hit me either.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling it. Let's do another one. Let's do
Okay,
another
all
reading.
right, here we go. Oh, money is everywhere. Okay.
Not
Happiness
in my
comes
bank
from many
account.
happiness comes from many sources, but none of these sources involve car or purse upgrades. Once at an executive women's retreat in Orlando, I met a brilliant CPA named Christy. I feel compelled to mention that I wasn't at this weekend retreat because I'm an executive woman. I work in my pajamas. I was there because I was invited to give a 2-hour presentation, which you'll be happy to hear I didn't give in my PJs. But this story isn't about me, it's about Christy, who's brilliant, not just because she helps clients with taxes and financial planning and all of that, but she helps them really understand money, not in the way of most understanding of money, but in the way money really is. She considers it her duty to make sure they know that money is energy and that those numbers on their balance sheets and tax forms are a direct result of their thoughts and beliefs. She loves to tell her clients that money is unlimited and that it's only their thoughts and beliefs that could ever keep it away. So while Christie's mission is to maximize and optimize finances, mine is to maximize and optimize my joy. That's why, as I often say, my goal is to become the Warren Buffett of happiness. And that's what A Course in Miracle does. It helps me realize that the way I see myself in the world is upside down. It teaches me that living a wonderful, fulfilling life has nothing to do with finances and everything to do. This lesson encourages me to give up pitiful illusions to reach in and grab the absolute peace that abides within. It's there within everyone, hidden under your thoughts and your lunatic beliefs, hidden under worry and stress, and belief that money or really anything at all is limited. Limitation is a false construct that I submitted in my thoughts. It can be changed at any time. Today, I notice, like Christy, creatures, money and abundance of all kinds is everywhere, hourly, every minute, every minute, reminding myself that it is up to me to have peace of mind.
Hmm. That's true. And actually, that's how we started off our conversation before we started hit record, is Melissa was
Mm-hmm.
sharing with me how grounded she feels, how she's been practicing that. Um, Her foundational work, which is coincidentally what we're going over in our True Balance book right now, root work or the root chakra and
Mm-hmm.
foundational work. But she was talking about um how grounded she felt, and we just kind of went on to talk about how that's a choice. If that's what you want to be, if you want to be grounded, you get to choose to do it and
Mm-hmm.
use the tools.
And so the very topic of money, I know for a lot of people, just the very topic of money, you can feel it in your body when I just even say the word, can't you? So the idea of money is, yes, we're living in a world where we do need to have money to pay bills and to be feeling successful, et cetera, et cetera. Also to know that with this foundational work that we're doing right now is the reality of if you do have money or don't have money, that you still have that balanced foundation. Sometimes that's challenging when work comes and goes and there's these thought patterns of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now that I'm laid off or not working as much, or so you can see where it feeds into fear and worry and
Oh,
anxiety.
absolutely, absolutely. I was sharing with Melissa earlier. I just started a new job. I loved my job, and then my knee decided, meh, we're not going to participate with your enjoyment of this new job. So within 6 shifts, I was already having to put in my resignation because my knee just didn't get on board. And it did for about 2 days. I kind of sat there, and I was crying because it's like my
Mm,
mind and my aspirations and my purpose are all going this direction, but my body's like going this direction. And it did bring up a little bit of fear about, oh, how am I going to support myself? How am I going to survive? But you know what's really weird is there was just this overwhelming sense of it's all going to be okay. You've made it this far. I mean, it's all going to work itself out. Something better is coming, or this one will, hopefully, maybe be repurposed into something that does work with you. So,
mm,
but that's because that's inner balance versus
mm.
outer
Outer
balance.
balance.
The outer balance world is chaotic right now because once
Mm-hmm.
again, I'm without work.
Mm-hmm.
I spent so long trying to find that perfect position, but the inner piece, even though I did get disrupted, like that bird hitting your window in the story you were just telling me when you were driving, it did come in really hard, and it's like, I got ungrounded. My foundation was shook. I think because I've done so much work over the last 7 years,
Mm.
especially the last 4 years,
Yeah.
it didn't get shook for very long.
So your foundation was shooken. That's not a word, but shaken, or that's not a word. But yeah, so it was
Shaken,
shook.
shaked,
Shaken, shaken,
shaken.
shook, shooken.
It was this.
We'll make it a word. And all of a sudden, this is the thing that is so wonderful. Not to say that you had to go through all that and your knees swollen right now, but just the idea that you have tools and you have practices and
Yes,
you have these awarenesses now that you didn't have before. And that's what's so cool about this chakra work, this foundational work. I mean, it really is a spinning wheel, a spinning vortex, and it really has a presence of consciousness inside your physical body, right? And it's this hidden field of energy. I'm looking at my notes a little bit here that carries your urges, your emotions, your habits, as well as your imprints of all that has and is happening to you.
absolutely. I mean, there is nothing that isn't built or created that didn't start with a foundation of some sort. Everything had to start with a certain point. And so, for
Mm-hmm.
those of you who may not have been following so far, Melissa and I are going over the chakra system, the main seven chakras. There are many more. Didn't you say there were 98? You looked it up for me, or
I
was it
know, was it
100,
114 or
114.
something?
So there's definitely more chakras, but we're focusing on the main seven right now and how this
Mm-hmm.
applies to your healing or recovery journeys. Um, you know,
Yes.
I really think that we have, if you haven't, go back and watch some of our previous videos that we've just put out, talk a little bit more about the root chakra, but this is your foundation. This is your belief system, your right to be here, your right to
Mm-hmm.
exist, your safety, your security. And it really attaches to so many things, but it's also when it's uprooted or not balanced can lead to addiction and addictive behaviors and self-sabotaging behaviors. So, with that being
Mm,
said, Melissa,
that's
do you want to start
powerful.
us off? I think we uh, left the last
Sure.
one. We had answered a whole bunch of questions and we closed out of that one due to time.
Yeah, so
What
we're
did
starting
you
on.
get so far from the solid not fixed?
Oh, okay. So, well, it kind of feeds into what you're saying on page 17. Maintaining a balanced foundation requires adaptation to what comes into your life. Oh, there you go.
I'm trying to just show this while you're speaking.
Oh,
Go ahead.
it's a little
I know because
blurry.
I have my blur
It
feature
looks like
on,
a
so
a Monet painting or something. You know, that impressionistic look. So yeah, just the very part that really stands out first and foremost is really just that adaptation to what comes into your life, what we were just sharing about, and it goes right into what you're saying. And you know, how do we adapt to the ever-changing nature of bending like branches in a tree? How to
you know,
and while we maintain our root?
and I love that. I love that here on this page 17 when she described it like the tree, because if you think about the tree, when the wind blows, it's gonna sway. And
Right.
sometimes a storm's gonna come and knock all branches off, and it's gonna knock all the leaves off. And the only thing really left is gonna be that foundation and that root, and everything else fell down. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why it's so important that we stabilize our root foundation and our root
Yeah.
chakra, but also
Mm-hmm.
remembering that it only takes in less than a blink of an eye for your root chakra to become unbalanced.
Right. 2 to 3 seconds. I mean, it's quick.
Yep. I
I mean,
mean, as
like
quick as driving peacefully in that story you were just
that
sharing, and then a bird hitting your windshield, it instantly shook your foundation, right?
this sure did. It made me sad. I feel sad. So I guess, you know, also rather than trying to control your external environment, which many people try to do, you know, we can create an inner environment that supports and calms your spirit and your soul. And that adds to feeling safe and secure in the world. And I have a question here. What calms your spirit? So that might be a question to people who are listening. What calms your spirit when you're feeling duress or stressed or um, not feeling valued? There's that word again.
Yeah. And that is a question that I think some people, depending on where you are in your healing journey, some people know the answer real quick. Some people might still not even have a clue. But some of these things
Mm-hmm.
can be taking a bath, breathing, walking. There's so many different things. And actually, we have some questions on the next page. And
Mm-hmm.
so let me go ahead and talk about let me say this first. I highlighted this. It says, that's how I preserve my foundation by recognizing what I need to feel safe, sound, and solid, and not giving these things up no matter what distractions the outside world or even my own mind may present. So, no matter what
Mm-hmm.
distractions come at you externally or even internally, understanding what makes you feel safe, secure, and stable, and then making those your foundational building blocks and never, ever giving those up.
And I love that because that's exactly what I have down here on the bottom of 17. I wrote in the margin, what are your daily routines that gives you a sense of belonging? I know for me, like you were saying, Don, daily routines that give me a sense of belonging and grounding, starting my day by being quiet, starting my day by doing my stretches, having a routine every day that I'm going to do this, having the water first thing in the morning. That's one of the first things I do when I do slowly. I wake up slowly. I open my eyes. I look from side to side. I don't say anything. I don't really think much. And I gradually get myself up. I go to my water. I drink some water. You know, so this is what's important when we are feeling off, or even when we know what works for us to keep our routines that keep us on, meaning balanced. So important
And
to
the other
keep
thing to
those.
remember, I love that you shared that, how your morning routine and you kind of have the same things. So the reading we started off trying to read that or maybe it was the second reading, it kind of talked about why would I hit the alarm over and over, or why would I do the same thing over and over? My mind was saying, but there are some things you do want to consistently do over and over because one of the
Mm-hmm.
things I literally put in my question, what are your favorite grounding techniques, is following a routine. For me, that is one of the most grounding things. I'm currently
Mm-hmm.
struggling with it, but when I follow a routine, when I find something that works for me, and that's on page 18, the first question, um,
Mm-hmm.
following that routine like you're doing when you wake up every morning
Mm-hmm.
is how your body is starting to trust you again and get back into that safe and secure place. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
truth is, you and I both have a very unique situation where we're able to wake up pretty the way we want to. There are many people who are not. Like even last week when I was working, I had to be to work at 6. I was not able to do my stretching and my breathing and my meditation and all the things I love to do in the morning because it was like, get up, get ready, gotta go, and running around. What would you say to people like that in those situations on how to stay grounded or start their day off in a grounded way?
Well, it is a little more challenging, I have to say, because when I was working full time, luckily I get to do my own hours, write my own hours now. With that, I remember it was challenging for me to try to get to a staff meeting every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. It took about 25 minutes to get to work. And I am not an early riser. So what I would do would I would get everything ready the night before on my little containers of nuts, and because I'm a vegetarian, so I have to I get to not have to, but get to get all these little things put into these containers, and I would just get everything ready. I had my clothes ready and set out and ready, and so there wouldn't be that would help add to that foundation of okay,
So that
just don't
might
have
even
to
be the
think
routine
much.
then.
Mm.
Following that routine was helping you be grounded because you were
Right,
prepared.
right. And so that's what I recommend for a lot of people say, I don't have time or this or that. And I was talking to a lady the other day about, because I was at the bank and she's like, wow, you have puffy cheeks here. And she started smiling and laughing. I'm like, well, that was 25 pounds ago. And oh, how did you do it? And I said, well, paying attention to, again, paying attention to when I'm eating, what I'm eating, being on a routine kind of schedule, like between a certain period of time when I eat when I'm only hungry, I said, only eat to 80% full. And then walk every other day for 30 minutes. She said, oh, I don't have time to even walk every other day for 30 minutes. I said, don't even have time to walk. What about going up and down the steps somewhere close by?
So it is maybe you don't have time to, maybe your life is so full right now or even over full that to take the time to go for a walk would seem, how on earth could I do that other than take more time away from my sleeping routine? So maybe you can park your car a little further away from work and you can walk in to work a little bit for
Mm-hmm.
closer, or like she said, taking the stairs versus doing those things. And even though these are more things for helping lose weight, but they're also grounding activities because they're
Yes.
moving your body and they're keeping you connected to thinking about what you're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So what other things are some of your favorite grounding routines?
Okay. Let's see. Well, making food from scratch. I tend to do this practice of mindful, I call it mindful prepping, mindful creating. That's kind of what I do. So it's a mindfulness of being aware of, again, being aware of what I'm making and knowing the combination to get enough protein as a vegetarian. And so I do that. The other thing I do is the walking and the stretching and the meditating every day. And the other thing that is a ritual is having daily coffee with my hubby. So after I
Okay.
do my stretches and drink my water and all that, I'll come downstairs. He's a morning person. And I'll go, I don't talk much. If he does say something, I'm like, babe, I need quiet time. Oh, okay. We get quiet. There's no talking. I slowly am a slow waker upper in the morning, and then I'll do the pressed coffee, and it's a routine. It's just the idea of getting the coffee ready, putting the little kettle on, going through and putting the water in there, and it's always just being mindful of being present, not in a
Yes.
hurry or not in the past or future, but just
Yes,
so
being
that
mindful, but
starts.
also being aware of what you need and not being afraid to, because actually we can go
Mm-hmm.
on to talk about it in here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So let me answer mine real quick. I just put breathing, meditation, touching things. I can do that when I'm on my way to work. Sometimes I can put my hand on my heart with one hand, or when I'm at a
Mm-hmm.
stop sign, pay attention to the touching the steering wheel. Being
Yes.
outdoors when I can, following
Yes.
that routine and eating healthy. And so that comes down to being mindful of what I'm eating and putting in my body. And I haven't been so great with that this week because of the disruption with my injury in my leg. I've kind of been just eating whatever to comfort myself, and I immediately start to feel that in my body. I feel swollen, I feel, inflamed, and so then I start to feel ungrounded. But
Mm-hmm.
also journaling, like in the evening,
Mm-hmm.
journaling, lotioning my body. When I take a moment to lotion my body and touch my feet and really massage them and put it on,
Mm-hmm.
that's all very grounding for me. So there are many different ways to ground yourself, many
Mm-hmm.
things that can work.
That is
Um,
definitely on the next page is honor your feet. What else do you do in the evening and before bedtime?
I just kind of answered that already.
Okay,
Lotioning my
okay.
body and journaling.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I'll pull out my oracle cards or my Bible or pray or,
Okay.
whatever I feel called to in that moment. Sometimes I pull out my shamanic drums and or my crystal bowls or, or excuse me, not crystal bowls, my Tibetan sound bowls. So
Okay.
it just depends, whatever feels right to me.
This sounds like you kind of have a little smorgasbord, or you
I
have
do, right
certain
next to my bed,
things.
actually.
Yeah. So like if you feel it energetically, you're gonna be probably gravitating to one thing over another
hmm
at that moment.
hmm
But it's all part of your routine and your practice,
hmm
daily practice.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
wonderful. That sounds kind of that's sort of what I do too. I also in the evening spend much time alone and much time in quiet. And I like to watch joyful shows and talk very little and not communicate very much technologically. So there's certain
And
times
you
of
you
push.
practice what, Buddhism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the Buddhism, I don't know if it's a principle, but one of the things they do practice is a lot of just sitting in silence and just being, right? Can you
Mm-hmm.
explain that a little bit to anybody who might be interested in learning about that?
Okay, sure. So the idea of, a lot of us talked about mindfulness and meditating, and the idea of sitting in silence for me gives me an opportunity to kind of pay attention to the monkey mind. We talked about it before, but how busy your mind is. And so what I mean by that is like, are you thinking about this, or are you thinking about what she said or what he did or why that happened? Or so if you're preoccupied with, the worry, or, if you're overwhelmed with anxiety or anger, it's called suffering. So there's
hmm
an attachment to suffering. And so Buddhists all say we all suffer. It's just a matter of degree. With that being said, it's also being aware of where you are in your breath, where you are in your moments. And so over time, it's just really practicing loving kindness and compassion with myself and with you.
So similar, similar.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes, I don't really meditate as much in pure silence as I probably should. I'm more of
Mm-hmm.
I generally like to have frequency music on because that trances
Mm-hmm.
me out really quick.
That's nice too.
So when I listen to the Hertz frequencies, depending on which one I select, sometimes I go into delta wave, sometimes I go into theta wave. It just depends on the where what I'm trying to achieve with my brain, but generally that will lift me off. It's kind of like
Yeah.
transcendental meditation takes
Right.
me to a whole different place.
Uh-huh.
Um,
That
but I
does
probably should
work.
practice just sitting in silence and staying here in this world occasionally. Probably don't
Well,
practice that enough.
I don't know if a lot of people know, or they don't feel comfortable, or maybe they just don't allow themselves to do that, because we're just so busy with distractions and
Mhm.
stuff, and, feeling like we have to be doing something. With that, also, I know I've talked to you about solfeggio frequencies. Those
Mhm.
are very, very nice.
Yes, I listen to them.
528 is a transformational frequency, and it's the frequency of love. So if you
Yes.
ever want to listen to any 528. I mean, there's a whole thing that goes from 174 all the way to 1122 on the solfeggio frequencies.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So, I kind of want to just move on, move forward. What
Sounds good.
I highlighted next in the book, definitely talking about nutritional deficit. Those aren't the necessarily words they use, but that's kind of how I summarize it. Is you see a lot of this in the world with when we're growing up, especially if maybe our parents were low income and we were eating lower nutrient dense foods like macaroni and cheese, ramen noodles, and things like this. What happens over amount of time is your body's getting starved and it's not getting the nutrients it needs. So it's constantly hungry, even though you may be putting tons of food into your body can still be starving. And what that creates is an ungrounded root chakra because you're not giving yourself the nutrients it needs. And it can also lead to eating addictions, or disordered eating, or something I struggle with, my body weight. Being
Yeah.
able to get myself to a healthier body weight because I grew up eating very unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Mm-hmm.
no fault to my parents. Some of that was just my choice as a kid, but yeah, and that caused a lot of disordered eating. In fact, for the first 25 years of my life, it owned me. I was bulimic and anorexic, and it was pretty horrible. And that is an ungrounded root chakra.
Yeah, I went the opposite direction. I went under eating,
Hmm.
and then I went to overeating. And it does feed into this foundational work. And when you look at when you are, and we've talked about it in our YouTube before about having been grown up, being raised in a certain environment where there was just not very much money and there wasn't very much
Hmm.
food, and you were fighting for attention, and
So
so
you can
all of that.
literally have food insecurity in a
Yes,
home that has tons of food.
that
And
is correct.
people do not understand
Understand.
this.
They can have full pantries of hamburger helper, mac and cheese, and all this prepackaged foods and potato chips, popcorn, and all that. But this is the thing that they're talking about is they want you to in the book is looking at processed foods, which is pre-made foods versus pulling the carrot out of the ground
Hmm.
or going to some farmers markets. And I mean, I know they take EBT at some of these farmers markets, so people who are even on small
But this is
income.
because what happens is your body is not getting the nutrients it needs. And because of that, your cells begin to starve. Your mitochondria are not getting fed. You are not giving, so your body is constantly starving. And so this is why a lot of lack of education in this world, people might look
Mm-hmm.
at somebody who's overweight and be like, "Oh, they've got plenty of food." And the truth is they might have plenty of sustenance in their pantries, but they don't have plenty of nutrition.
No, and
And so
it's
there's a
it's
huge difference.
huge different, and it's very important for people to understand that give yourself a break if you are eating pasta and white rice and mac and just give yourself a break and just become more educated. There are classes available that are pretty reasonably priced. There are things online. There are all kinds of people I've been following for a long time.
Oh,
um
absolutely. And there, yeah, definitely making one small change at a time when you're ready. Not having to, because that's where my big thing is like try to wipe out all the food in the house and go get all healthy food. And then unfortunately, that just doesn't work. I have to do it one little bitty change at a time. So I did put in here that John, that's the person that they're talking about in this story,
right,
how
right.
he suffers from food insecurity, but it left him living an ungrounded life. So he was constantly
Mm-hmm.
obsessing about food and
Mm-hmm.
caused disordered eating in his life. And he ended up having to go to Overeaters Anonymous to get kind of grounded and back in control of his behaviors.
Yeah, it says eventually he acknowledged that he was in trouble because he just basically clipped out coupons and and overshopped and overate, and he just was basically chronically fearful that he was going to go hungry and die of
Right.
starvation. So
And
it's
that
interesting, isn't it, looking at this.
Yeah, and I notice, when I'm reading this story, as I parallel back to my childhood,
Mm,
we had food. We always had food. But there were such strict rules when my stepdad was in the house about when you were allowed to eat, how much you were allowed to eat, what you were allowed to
um,
eat, how you had to eat.
mm,
And all of that caused food insecurity within me.
mm,
And I ended up growing up with disordered eating and eating disorders,
mm.
and still struggle with my weight to this day. But I'm getting better. I'm educating myself. I'm learning about nutrition. I'm making occasional
Right.
I was gauging myself today and I'm like, they say you're supposed to eat healthy 90% of the time, and 10% of the time you're allowed to kind of just eat what you want. And I'm probably at about lately a 60% bad, 40% good. And so I got to work on that. I
So
need to be aware of it and start working on that
do
again.
you want to share what bad means to you? Because it might
So
be different for
Oh,
everybody.
absolutely. I should share that. So for me, it's the food choices. It's not necessarily the amount anymore. I struggled with
Mm-hmm.
amount and binging and purging for many times or starving myself. But now it's like I'll do this fasting thing all day long. And then when I do eat at night, if I let my fasting go too long, then I end up instead of eating broccoli and chicken, which is what I should would like to eat, I'll
Mm-hmm.
end up if I'm too tired or too hungry, Taco Bell is the first thing that I see. Oh, just get that and we'll try again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have this guilt because and
Mm.
it's like one burrito or one taco, so it's not tons of food, but it's literally offering my body nothing. There is zero nutrients, I'm sure. Well, there's probably some, but uh not many nutrients in those choices. And so for me, that's baddie.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I used to have a who nutritionist who was working with me on binging, and I'd be like, "Oh, I binged again
Mm.
today," and she'd be like, "Okay, what'd you have?" And I'd say, "I drove through McDonald's and I got a McDouble value meal," and she goes, "Okay, what's in that?" And I said, "A small drink, a small hamburger, a small fry, and four-piece nugget," but I didn't eat the nugget because I was already full. And she goes, "Dawn, that's not binging. That's one small burger, a small fry, and a small drink is." An average sized meal.
Yes.
It's that you're putting junk in. She didn't use these words, but it's what I heard.
Yeah.
You're putting
Right.
junk in, so you're not getting anything. So then you're hungry again almost immediately
Mm.
afterwards. And I had to learn that I'm not binging per se. It's just I'm not making the right choices. So,
You're not making choices that kind of add to enhancing your foundation. And I
mhm.
like how she writes in here that eating incorrectly or not nutritiously, anything could be taken negative here. But I also want to put it out there that there are options of eating sweet, just like I've talked about this, the pineapple peach with a little bit of ginger, cinnamon, and teeny bit of honey and vanilla. I mean, that doesn't have any sugar in it, and so that's sweet. And that gets that if I'm wanting something sweet, instead of reaching for the candy, I can reach for
Instead
that.
of reaching for dextrose or maltose or whatever, malodextrin, what all those other sugars,
Right.
reaching for a natural source, a banana
Yes.
or an orange or like you said, pineapples, because even though it's still kind of sugar, at least I'm getting
Mm-hmm.
nutrients from it and it's going into my cells.
Right. And I can feel it when I eat it.
Hmm.
And I've noticed that before when I pay attention to uh, consuming something delicious like that and healthy, I feel light in my body. Now, if I eat
Oh, I
something
do
like
too.
a whole bunch of graham crackers with a
Hmm.
bunch of chocolate and peanut butter, now I
Hmm.
kind of go, well, the peanut butter is healthy. And if the dark chocolate, this as long as it's
You could
70%,
make your
it's
own peanut butter, Melissa. Have you ever thought about that? Do you have a
yeah,
food processor?
no, but I have had Whole Foods peanut butter where you just put the nuts in and you push the button and it's all
Yes,
warm and
I
creamy.
love now that kind of peanut butter I love.
That was so good. So again, kind of everything, make sure I know for me also when I'm eating, and I've shared it before, is be mindful of when I am hungry and when I am reaching for something. Is it because I'm lonely? Is it because I'm tired? Is it because I'm agitated? Is it because I'm hungry?
And so I'd like to interject here with a little bit of what the recovery world would call harm reduction. And so
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'm gonna end up eating my Taco Bell anyway. And we already know it's not healthy
Right.
for, or I already believe it's not healthy for me. I already believe it's not the best choice, but the decision's been made. I'm gonna eat it. Maybe harm reduction says I can wait a little longer before I give it to myself to give myself a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of space. Or maybe I can have water instead of drinking the soda with it, or just have one taco instead of two. And so there are ways that you can alter these things and not feel like you're complete. Like, for instance, I end up feeling less guilty when I do
Mm.
use some form of harm reduction. And it's typically used more in the substance use, but food is a substance. And especially if you are
Food is a
struggling with it,
substance.
it can
Yeah.
be used inappropriately occasionally to numb or to
Yeah.
disconnect.
Yeah. And I wish more people knew about 12 step meetings. Well, I mean, I'm not totally pro 12 steps, but I know that that's where a lot of my work, where I changed, happened. And I went to the various meetings. I went to open OA meetings. I went to open NA meetings, and I really got a lot out of what people shared in the meetings. And it
And
made
see,
me
I'm the
go, oh,
opposite. Those meetings
okay.
did nothing for me. In fact, they'd make me more angry
Mm,
because I picked up what everybody else was sharing and I didn't get what I needed. So I think
that happens
it
too.
it really is, but look at how successful the AA, NA, OA, CA, all of those are. They do work.
Right.
But if
And
they
there's
don't work for you,
just
find something that
find
does.
something else. Find something else that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, is absolutely. So, just being mindful again. I'm looking at page 20, and I'm going to get to 21 here in a little bit, but just looking at when you're feeling maybe unbalanced, and then this is what he learned. What John learned was he became aware of emotional conditions. He became aware of emotional conditions, like I was just talking about, like you were just sharing about, when do we reach for something? Is it because we're angry, lonely, tired, or are we just hungry?
Yes, absolutely. And those are the questions that as you begin your healing journey, and maybe you don't even suffer with any disordered eating at all, and
Mm-hmm.
this episode might not resonate with you at all, but hearing some of this information might help you relate to somebody who is challenged with disordered eating or maybe not making the right choices is not judging yourself or others because you see them eating in a way that can be interpreted as harmful for them and understanding
Right.
there's so much that goes into why people eat. It's not just because they're hungry. Sometimes it's because they have trauma or they're
Mm-hmm.
emotionally trying to satiate or they're
Mm-hmm.
the opposite. They are trying to disconnect and numb
Mm-hmm.
themselves from something. So there are so many reasons, but
Oh my gosh, it's
asking
so
yourself, am I
important.
eating because I'm sad, happy, mad, angry, or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just being aware of it, even if you're not ready to make changes, if you can just start being aware of the
Yeah.
behaviors behind it,
Well, that's
it really
big.
opens a lot of doors.
That's big. And it says understanding it gives feeds into understanding the first chakra. When understanding that, you can nurture yourself, with your balanced home and good food, caring practices, good friends. And that's what it says too, also, is nurturing, you know, not doing the, just be caring. What's it say here? Oh, becoming aware of the cycles of binging, dieting, feeling remorse in any way.
Right. And
Um,
it's asking yourself those questions. What am I eating
yes,
for breakfast, lunch, or dinner? How many
right.
times am I snacking? Am I getting enough water? Am I getting my vitamins? Am I eating fruits and vegetables? Because everybody's diet's different. Some eat meat,
Mm-hmm.
some don't. Some are
Mm-hmm.
fruitarians, some are vegetarians. There's a million carnivores. There's a million different eating ways out there. But
That's
are
right.
you following the one that your body aligns with?
Right.
And
And also looking at, are you eating on a somewhat of a schedule? Are you avoiding eating on the run? Are you skipping meals? Are you taking time to prep lovingly and mindfully?
yes, definitely. Um, so I
What
don't want to go through
else?
all these questions right now because we're kind of talking about all these questions pretty much, if you don't
Yeah,
mind, unless there's one there
sure.
you specifically. But I do want whoever is listening to this, I'd like on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best.
Mm-hmm.
How well do you nurture yourself?
Mm-hmm.
How well are you nurturing or nourishing your body, mind, and soul? And
Oh, let's sit
what
with
would you
that.
say your number would be, Melissa?
Well, right now, because I've been working on this grounded, feeling really grounded today, it's pretty high. It's 10 on the scale of 10.
Okay. And so all of your will is being nurtured pretty
Mm-hmm.
well. Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's down at a 3 or 4, and I do think it is because of the knee injury I have going on right now. It's kind of thrown quite a few of my areas in my will out of bivouac, but it doesn't
Yes.
mean my will has to stay there, first of all. But second of all, it just showed me answering these questions. Oh, well, I need to improve on that. And I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
improve. I choose to improve. I choose to want to improve on this. So
Mm-hmm.
it is about being aware of it's not just your eating. Obviously, there's so many things. It's just what we're talking about in this episode. But I do want to move on to they talk about psychic safety in here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's like safety is your basic foundation, but what does psychic safety mean to you?
Mm. Gosh, that's a big one. For me, it's paying attention to what my body is trying to tell me about what's going on for me. And because your body, for me personally, body is there before the mind for sure. And they also say the body doesn't lie. The body is very smart, and that we have all these intelligence, the mind
Absolutely.
and the heart and the gut, right?
Absolutely. It's funny you say that. I ate Taco Bell last night and I've been beating myself up about it. But then I'm like, let it go. You had Taco Bell. It's okay. But when I went to wash my face today, I noticed this little patch over here. It's kind of like trying to break out. And it's like, that's your body. My body going, ugh, we don't really like Taco Bell. And normally, if I'm ungrounded and not paying attention to my body, I wouldn't even have noticed that. I'd just keep moving on. But
It's
now I
interesting.
know, oh, I didn't have that yesterday morning when I woke up. And I know I did have Taco Bell last night. So I have to be aware. Okay, Don, that was part of your 10% this week. Get back on track.
Yeah, and then I love how you're talking about it so openly, honestly, because it gives everybody else an opportunity to pay attention to, if I don't want to say slip up, or when they choose, or maybe they were not completely aware when they ate, but just on the other side of it to go, okay, what was going on for me? Maybe you can even journal or something.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing, the word slip up or making, those words slip can have come with a
Mm-hmm.
negative connotation. But I want you to
Mm-hmm.
let's reframe that for a second. Let's say you're
Yes.
mountain climbing and
Oh
you're
gosh.
climbing this mountain and your feet keep getting on solid ground, but occasionally there'll be like a rock
Mm,
under it and it kind of slips a little.
right. Mm-hmm.
We
Yes.
all slip a little bit in our journeys, first of all. But second
Right.
of all, what happens if I do that enough? My ankles might be getting strengthened.
Mm-hmm.
My awareness and my knowledge is getting strengthened to be more careful of where I step. So good things can come from slips. And I think it's
That's
very
correct.
important that we understand that slipping isn't necessarily a negative thing.
Oh, I
Um,
like that.
so
Reframe. That's awesome.
yeah, absolutely. For me, I want to touch back on the question, what does psychic safety mean? For me,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's just because my mind wants to go woo-woo with the word psychic, but that's not really what this is meaning to me. Psychic
Mm-hmm.
safety to me is, am I psychologically safe to be
Mm.
myself? And do I
Oh,
feel
okay.
safe to be who I want to be? Which anybody who knows Dawn, I'm all over the place. Blah, 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 blah. And I spent the first 48 years of my life apologizing for that. Oh, I'm sorry. I know I'm too much. I'm just neurotic. I'm loud. I'm ADHD because I didn't feel safe enough to be
Mm,
myself. I wasn't
mm,
psychically safe. I grew up in an environment and had many relationships after that that told me I was too much. I was too loud. I was too
mm,
this. I was too that, or not enough this. And I never felt psychically safe. Now I'm just going to be me. And I'm not saying I don't have occasional issues with that
mm-hmm.
still, but I'm just going to be me. And I feel like it's up to you. If I'm too much for you, then you move along. I don't have to move along. I'm going to still be me.
Bravo. Very well said.
So,
Because that's the truth of it.
and that psychic safety is also important in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just shared, you wake up in the morning and your husband might be like, da, 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 da. And you didn't say that, I'm saying that, but he might be like, da, 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 da. And you're like, I need a moment. And that is psychic safety.
Mm-hmm.
That is the safety to be what you need to be in that moment. It might be a little, give me some time. Maybe I'm
Right.
grumpy or maybe I'm still trying to get my morning feet, whatever it is,
Basically all of that, yeah.
but feeling safe
Safe.
also enough to say that and be in
That's
that.
exactly right. Because in the past I've had to oh,
Perform.
perform or act like everything is, okay. And really I was like inside just seething, just like, gosh, why is it that you just always, I've asked you for 3 years to please don't do this. And then you keep on leaving the toilet seat up or whatever. And in the middle of the night, I sit on the toilet without the, yeah. So, these are really good realities for us to talk about, because that's boundaries setting to me too, is when you are practicing healthy boundaries. When I say no, no means no, and when I say yes, yes means yes. And with that being said, it's allowing us to be real and authentic in our communication with ourselves and with the world, with others.
Exactly. And I love how in here it says many people suffer from psychically threatening conditions, and that destabilizes our foundations. I'm on
Mm-hmm.
page 22, by the way. It
Mm-hmm.
leaves these when you feel psychically threatened, you can feel unsafe. And this can be in abusive relationships. This can be at
Mm-hmm.
work. This can be even with your children. It can be at school. It can be in any situation. If you feel psychically unsafe or threatened, it is going to destabilize your root chakra.
That's right. It's going to destabilize your root chakra. It's going to destabilize your life, because the foundation is safety and
Now, the
secure.
symptoms that come from that
Mm-hmm.
can be anxiety, depression, many different things.
Worry,
Worry, obsessiveness.
being obsessive. Did I lock the door? Did I lock the door? Did I lock the door?
Yep,
Did I turn the oven off? Did I turn the,
yep.
obsessive thinking, obsessive behavior?
And so then we try to start treating the symptoms or the behavior. And how do some of us treat those symptoms or behaviors? Drinking, eating,
Gambling, over
drugs,
gambling,
gambling,
drugs,
pornography. I don't even know if I was allowed to
overeating,
say that
pornography,
because we're on YouTube, but
drugs.
there are so many different things that unfortunately can be abused and
Mm-hmm.
used inappropriately. And so that's why it's so important to be aware of what brings you safety, what brings you
Mm-hmm.
stability, what brings you those feelings of peace, inner peace.
Yeah, exactly. And I love, no situation really has power over you unless you give it that power. Even if you are physically in grounded conditions, you can still remind yourself that it is nevertheless your choice to remain there. If you are staying, and that you are the one who ultimately creates your own sense of safety with your choices. So basically, again, that's a choice of, if you're in a harmful situation,
Yeah.
um, it's up to you to
And we're never going to be able to
gain your
control
balance.
all of the circumstances going on around us. But
Right.
what we can control is our inner self, our behaviors, our actions, our thoughts. And that
Right.
is probably getting to the end of today's session.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put a little
Maybe we
mark
can.
here where yeah,
So we'll start on page 23, at the top of, do you
yeah,
feel safe? Okay.
yeah.
So we're
Do we
looking
feel
at,
safe? We'll go there.
and then maybe 20, it depends, 23, 24, 25. It depends on where we go. Maybe
Yep.
23, 24,
Okay.
25. Okay, we'll figure it
Yes,
out. We'll figure it out.
absolutely. So I hope that whoever decides to watch this today, that you have gotten something from Melissa and I. Please feel free to comment if any of this resonated with you, or if you have questions, or even if you disagree, share that down in the comments with us, because Melissa and I are healing out loud. We're growing, we're evolving, and part of that also is understanding that not everybody's going to think the way we do or believe the way we do. And yeah, we're open to it all.
Sounds good.
So thank you very much. We hope to see you again next week, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.